I'm Ruud de Busser. I'm working for Payara at the customer service, so I hear the stories what developers are encountering with Java EE, now Jakarta EE. So I hope that I can tell you a few things, what our ideas are for the future.
My name is Dimitris Andriadis, and I've been implementing Jakarta APIs for the last 15 years as part of the Red Hat Wildfly Jebosi AP team. And last year I switched to the Quarkus team, where we still implement Jakarta APIs and most particularly Eclipse MicroProfile. We give more emphasis on those. So now I'm kind of in between.
Yes, my name is Edwin Derks. I am a consultant at Ordina in the Netherlands. I am currently being contracted by the BMW Group, where I build software with Java EE and Jakarta EE and MicroProfile.
Hi, I am Emily Jiang. I work for IBM. I heavily involved in MicroProfile and also OpenLiberty. As OpenLiberty is a full implementation for Jakarta EE and MicroProfile, so I'm a great fan for MicroProfile for Jakarta EE. And I'm also on the CDI expert group. So I'm really looking forward for the new Jakarta EE release, Jakarta EE 9.
Yeah, and my name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EE developer advocate at Eclipse Foundation, and I'll try to moderate this panel a little bit. As you see, we have the hashtag Jakarta EE. So if you have any questions for the panel, please speak up and say it. Or if you don't want to speak up, just tweet it, and I'll monitor it there and relay the questions to the panelists. So do you have an opening question? So everything is clear then. I have a couple of questions. So Emily, you are looking forward to Jakarta EE 9. Yeah. What are you looking forward to there?
The first thing I'm looking forward to, base. The Jakarta EE 9 established base. As you know, when we move to Jakarta, we need to change the namespace from JavaX to Jakarta. So once that's done, and all the spec can just go full steam and to put awesome features in. I have a lot of requests, and I have a lot of ideas about how to improve CDI, for example. I think JXRS and a few others are in a similar boat.
Yeah, sure. Do you have anything you wish for EE9?
Yeah, there are a lot of features coming up, of course, that we have planned on the roadmaps for the future. But also there's some legacy we need to shed some way. There's a namespace discussion going on. I'm as an end user looking forward to be past that and really start adopting the evolution of the framework in my projects.
Yeah, because a big kind of obstacle these days are the namespace change. So in order to get past that, we just want to have EE9 out as fast as possible, and maybe we just want to do this namespace change and not add any features. Or is that a good idea, or should we focus on adding features as well?
Yeah. So I think for Jakarta EE9 it's very important to put it out quickly, make it a solid base to continue the evolution from that point on. So I don't think we should spend more time, making other unnecessary changes. There are already the deprecations, which is a step to the right direction. So yeah, I think the importance is, put it out quickly, regain confidence in the people that we can execute, and attract as many contributors from the community, because Jakarta is truly open now, right? So there's no excuses, and see some good stuff coming into the platform.
Yeah, that's also our idea, that we should put out Jakarta EE 9 as fast as possible, and in the meantime also identify which of the specifications maybe needs to be pruned, because we like that namespace change as a big bang, do everything in once, because otherwise it will drag on for years. but maybe some of the specifications or the really old specifications, less used specifications, there is no need to do that namespace change for that. So two things in Jakarta EE9 identify those things that which stay as it is today, maybe not even included in the platform release anymore, and keep it as a standalone. And the next thing, of course, is getting that namespace change out of the way.
Yeah, so at breakfast, Emily, we talked about the developer experience, and because we see that at MicroProfile we have this starter, so you can go into start.microprofile.io, and we just submitted a project at Eclipse Foundation where we want to have a starter for Jakarta EE as well, called start Jakarta.ee or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I think it's last year, I remember Rudy and I had a discussion regarding the starter for MicroProfile. I said I was thinking, before Rudy contacted me, I was thinking we need some tool to get an end user to adopt this technology ASAP. Basically, people asked me how quickly I can create a MicroProfile microservice. Without a tool, like I said, okay, which runtime I need to use and what I should put in my POM XML. It's still like you're hunting around. But with this, if we have a starter, you directly click a button, everything generated for you. You have a really nice POM XML, and you can just take 1 or 2 minutes to get a whole project generated. And then you can start your business logic straight away. The same thing applies to Jakarta. We need to make sure we should focus on the developer experience. At the moment, all the APIs and etc., a lot of the libraries exist, and they can offer similar things. And however, I think a developer experience is very, very important. If I like these kind of things, and I can just open my IDE without any thinking, I just type along. I started without much hesitation. Okay, do I need to choose this one? Do I need to choose that one? Everything done for me. So I just spend the time to focus on my business logic.
Any additions? Do you like developing with Jakarta EE?
Yes, I personally truly do. I've been doing it for more than 10 years now, 12 even. Yeah, but as an end user, I want to see the platform evolve, but I want to be involved because I can give feedback as an end user, of course. But why do I want that? Well, it's a feature, not complete, but feature-rich platform that you can use in several contexts. If you have a company that uses Red Hat software, you probably use Wildfly. Go to a company as a consultant that uses IBM stuff, you're probably using OpenLiberty, for example. But as a developer, I don't have to learn a new programming model. I can reuse what I already have and get started with that. So that's the value for me there. But also, of course, you have to upgrade and migrate and all these discussions that are coming back every time, going from one particular version of Java EE to the next. In the past, seemed sometimes a hurdle because there was big releases. Sometimes breaking stuff and not having the latest stuff available. But with Jakarta, we want to evolve more gradually and be able to adopt changes faster. But as a community member that runs into problems there, we can now help you. You don't have to go deeply into a vendor's business to ask questions about the server you're using. You can now openly discuss on the community forums, mailing lists, even on conferences, developers themselves, to help you fix your migration or adoption problems if you have any. Or, of course, if you have additional requests or features in the platform, also voice them, because you can shape the future of the platform you're using. And I think that's pretty cool.
So we have or do you want to comment on that?
Well, just to adapt to what you guys said, I think user experience is super, super important. And all those starter sites, it's a great thing. It's too much back for your, too much stuff for your buck, let's say. And I was just talking to some, colleagues, and it's really about bringing new people, because this new generation of developers, they have zero tolerance to anything that they cannot figure out in 10, 15 minutes. So if you cannot get their attention during this small time, they're gone. They will use something else.
I would say 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah,
maybe.
All right, maybe I'm optimistic. Yeah. But yeah. Well, we think about ourselves often, but there are new people. There are new people that are coming into.
And there are some great stuff happening. I mean, with Quarkus, you have increased this developer experience that you just do your code and it's there. And IBM has done the same with Open Liberty, the developer mode there. So you can you just make the changes in the code and you see it directly in the browser. And we, as kind of the old school Java EE developers, we think this is super cool, but the JavaScript generation, they say, oh, we always had this. So now we're finally there. Wouldn't you say?
It took some time.
Yeah. So we have a question from the audience here about deprecation and what should be or will be deprecated in Jakarta EE9. And I think that is a question that is up for discussion, because nothing has been decided yet, but there has been a proposal put forward. So what do you think should be deprecated in EE9? Anyone?
I think we discussed this very question at the Jakarta mailing list. And the first one came to the mailing list is SOAP. Who else wants SOAP to be deprecated? Cool. Can you also show hands who are the Java EE developers? Java EE developers, cool. And do you still care about Jakarta EE? Excellent. Yeah. So we got a right audience. Yeah. So it's one is the SOAP. The other one is the kind of which is some bit of the entity bin. Not entity bin. It's a CMP. Yeah. So it's, I don't know, maybe you can add more.
From your head?
Yeah, you talk about it. Entity bins, for sure, the old ones. Corba, some people say Corba should go away. Yeah, RMI, yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, if you look at what people are using today, they are probably only using, most of the time, not of course everyone, only using the web profile of Java EE. So maybe everything which is in, or most things which are in that enterprise profile only, like SOAP, like those CMP, XML, RPC, and all those things, we are not going to drop them, we are not going to throw them away, but we are probably remove them from that platform release. And then the web profile can maybe be the biggest one, and then we can maybe create a new profile for the user experience. Maybe just those 4 specs that we are using in MicroProfile. If you are using just REST endpoints, why not just using CDI, XRS, and the JSON-P specifications? And that can then be the new profile together with the web profile that we have today, including with a few things like concurrency, which is not there.
Yeah, and you said MicroProfile there, and there is a question about what are the pros and cons of integrating MicroProfile into Jakarta EE. And I just want to be precise there. We are not talking about integrating anything into anything. We're talking about having two technologies living in the same ecosystem somehow and just interact together. But yeah, MicroProfile is something we are super interested in, and I mean it's as you said, it adds all the cloud native microservices things that we need.
Yes, they're completely complementary, so it's not either or. And Wildfly is going to have everything from MicroProfile soon. Finally, it's happening. Of course, we use all of MicroProfile in Quarkus, so I think it's a no-brainer to put the 2 things together.
Yeah, I as an end user again, I find it pretty cool that you can use application servers with both Jakarta EE and MicroProfile. They integrate seamlessly and they complement each other. So now you can have your perceived old monoliths running as microservices in a cloud because MicroProfile helps you with authentication with JSON, JOTs, health check endpoints, metrics that expose the internals of your running JVMs, of course. So the platform together is evolving towards a cloud-based or cloud-native structure, which is very helpful nowadays, of course.
Can I ask an audience question? So who are using MicroProfile? Cool. Who are using both? Okay. Who only use MicroProfile? Okay, I think it's this is a reality. Basically, we would like to create a really seamless ecosystem between MicroProfile and Jakarta. So, like a MicroProfile plus Jakarta equals very powerful. So you can do almost everything. So this is kind of, we are not trying to, step on each other's toes. Besides the similar companies behind two community like IBM, Red Hat, and Payara, Tommy Tribe, and etc. is all behind both MicroProfile and Jakarta. So whatever we do, we need to make sure we continue to create a really powerful ecosystem between these two. So can I also ask, who use JSF? Okay, cool. Do you still want to see more update on JSF? Okay, cool. The other thing I have been thinking, like a CDI, right? CDI integration. Raise a hand if you want a CDI to integrate with more technologies, have a better integration with the JAX-RS, have a better integration with the JSF, etc. Okay. That's really good. I think is in the some other spec like a JAX-RS, we want to push the features to be more CDI aware. All the JAX-RS resources should be CDI beans and etc. So it's I strongly recommend you log on to the Jakarta or these kind of repositories to file your request into individual repos to have the features you are asking for filed and properly prioritized. This is the time I think we can grow the community. Work for the community. Basically, developers doing work for developers. And also, with this, your involvement, we will get the specs improved and released really fast.
Yeah. So we have. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, up there.
Well, I'm a bit of a typical old school Java EE developer, mainly experience on big containers and so on. Not involved in Jakarta EE at all. I'm simply wondering the big name change, a namespace change. Why do we have this?
Okay, so the question is, why do we have the namespace change from JavaX to Jakarta? And that is purely a trademark agreement. So Oracle owns the Java name and also owns the JavaX namespace. And the agreement with the transfer to Eclipse Foundation is that in order to evolve these APIs, we need to do it under a different namespace. So we can keep the namespace for the specs that we don't touch. But if we make changes to them, we need to change the namespace. So that's a reason for that. Yeah.
Maybe you should ask what they would like to do.
Yeah. So we have one more question. Yeah.
Do you have any plans according to MVC and Jakarta EE9, 10 or whatever version?
Okay, so the question is about MVC and the plans for example, including it to Jakarta EE9. So I'm also the spec lead of MVC. So yes, we do have plans for MVC. We have a beta out for the reference implementation, and that is an Eclipse E4J project. So we will release MVC 1.0 through the JCB as planned, and probably during first half of next year. After that, we will make the same transfer for MVC from JCB to the Eclipse Foundation under Jakarta EE as the other specs were done. And then we will continue evolving it there. Whether it's included in EE 9, 10 or 11, that is up to be decided. I don't think it is a candidate for EE 9 because we don't want to do so much changes there. But maybe E10 if that's interested and the platform project wants to bring it in, or it could live along as a standalone specs beside, but that is up to the platform project to decide. But it will continue its life under Jakarta EE.
Yeah, one thing for the future also is a release cadence of Jakarta. Like for MicroProfile, there's a 3 or 4 year cadence of releasing a version, minor or major version. But for Jakarta, it's not been set yet. We are looking also for input from the community. What would you like to see? Would it make sense for you to do a 2-year update for Jakarta where you have time to prepare or implement the latest release? Or would you say, well, I want to adopt every 3 months every feature that comes along with Jakarta? What does anybody have opinions on that?
So who would like 2 years cadence? 1 year cadence? Okay, cool. 6 months? Yeah, so 6 months or 1 year.
3 months?
Daily?
Oh yeah, I got to put today's release out by now. So 6 months would be from this audience a preferred setting. Yeah, that could make sense. So let's take that back.
Yeah. So we have a question that is actually coupled to this. It's about how to keep Jakarta EE relevant, to keep up with what's going on, because there hasn't been very much progress since we started this. And the answer to that is yes, increase the release cadence and have community input for what we want to include. And if you're feeling strongly for some technology or some features, it's no open playing field, so everybody can join in and kind of advocate their wishes.
Yeah, and there's something we see now from the Quarkus side. We need some more flexibility to address the use cases that have to do with build time versus runtime. Like one that is hurting us is CDI, for example. You cannot be at the same time dynamic and super efficient, pre-built and so on. So small adjustments like this, I think, would be to the benefit of the platform.
Yeah. Is that something you think should be specified, or is that kind of a vendor advantage thing to if we're talking about, for example, compiling to native and using GraalVM, is that something the platform should consider, or is that kind of more an implementation detail?
It should be allowed.
Yes.
Because now it's not essentially the way the spec is defined. The spec should be rephrased or relaxed a little bit to allow for this type of use cases.
And any more questions?
So my question was, you're asking for more feedback from community, to provide suggestions and input and so on. Is there a feeling that the input from the vendors has diminished, or is this basically the same as before? How are vendors acting upon the changes which are coming from you or from other side of the community?
Okay, so the question is if the balance of input from the vendors versus the community, and well, let's the vendors answer.
Well, I don't think that the input from the vendors diminished, or what you are maybe thinking. But we can decide a lot of things. We can think about a lot of things. But is that what you want? Is that what the developers want? From our experience is that customers are asking a lot of features to us. Can we have X, Y, Z, whatever? Those things are very important for us. But if we do not receive those information, directly or through the mailing list or through GitHub issues, we do not know what you want as a developer, what you think, what is important for your daily job. So that's why we are always, and it's now more important than in the Oracle case, now more important as ever to know what you are thinking, what you want to see in the next versions.
Yeah, and if you follow the mailing list, there are 3 or 4 of them. You see some are very active, but at the same time, you know, there's some people are, let's say, over vocal. So I think it's up to you as well to go and, you know, say your opinion to make it a bit more balanced. So yeah, it's up to everyone to participate, really. Now the process is completely open.
I think is one is a bigger step between the GCP, process, and with this Jakarta EE spec process is the openness. So basically, why I say the openness, so it's everybody's opinion matters. Previously, a lot in the spec, for example, CDI spec, is a lot of decisions were made by the expert group. Now it's by the community. Basically, I have opinion, you have an opinion, we have a similar weight. So at the end of the day, we design a programming model for you. If you say, okay, I want X, things won't sell if I just deliver the Y, right? So that's why I said I strongly encourage all of you to voice your opinion. So only you tell us what you want, and then we will try our best to balance and make sure we meet your goals and meet what your requirements are. So this is what I said, this openness. So bear in mind, everything is open. This is the time you can shine. So basically, if you have a lot ideas, expertise in some specifications, just log on to the GitHub and file request, and also you feel free to contribute as well and to supply PRs and etc. So this is kind of what we call we developers do things for developers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another area people could participate is by working on open source projects, because innovation will come from the projects. You know, it's bad to think there will be a specification that will solve all your problems. We need implementations that will show what people are using, what's needed, what's best, and then come together and standardize it, so to speak. So, you can work from many different directions to benefit the platform, MicroProfile, Jakarta EE. There's all sorts of contributions.
Yeah, that's very important, and that's one of the key changes with the Jakarta EE process, is that we want to do the implementation first, the code first approach. So we want to have something out there that works and the community or the industry wants, and then we can standardize it afterwards. So we don't want to sit on top and create some crazy architecture that we're going to struggle with for years. I'm just saying CMP again. So we don't want to go there. So that's absolutely true. To create a pet project somewhere, try out things, get traction around it, and then file it as a specification. Yes, so we have a question from the audience. Yes?
So concerning the concurrency utility specification in Java Enterprise, how is it going to be in MicroProfile? Is it going to have a place there, or is it going to be replaced by something like streams, for instance, which abstracts away the thread concept?
Okay, so the question is about the concurrency in MicroProfile and if it's going to be replaced by the streams. And I think Emily is the reactive, yeah.
These are two separate things. In MicroProfile, we have recently released a MicroProfile context propagation. This is purely for the asynchronous. So asynchronous, which is different from reactive. And so in this MicroProfile context propagation, we just trying to fix the problem. Like when you do the multi-threading and your CDI context suddenly got lost, right? Your CDI context never ever be able to propagate to another new thread if you do asynchronous. So that's why the context propagation came into play. It's able to enable you to push CDI context or transaction context or security context to the new thread. So this is the one thing is hope. So this one directly we filed this request from fault tolerance, because in fault tolerance we have a synchronized thread pool with the bulkhead. So we need to spin off a new thread, and we found all the we need to have this CDI context propagated. So that's why this spec came into play. At the same time, on the MicroProfile, we're also doing reactive. We have reactive streams operators and basically manipulate reactive streams. And also we have reactive messaging. So reactive messaging is directly established a concept between the with the publisher and loosely connect with the messaging broker and then the consumer. Basically, it has two annotations. One is the at incoming, basically I'm a consumer. The other one, the outgoing, is a publisher. And then all the configuration will be using MicroProfile config to say, okay, I want to use my Kafka connector to direct it to connect to the Kafka broker. Maybe you have a MQTT, you can plug it, you can just specify, actually, I want to connect it to MQTT. So it's, again, in summary, we also addressed asynchronous, like a context propagation, and also we establish a reactive messaging aspect.
Yeah, so we have another question here about the minimum Java versions. What Java SE should we base Jakarta EE, and should we follow the release cadence of Java itself, or how are we going to do this? Edwin, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. Of course, as a Java developer, I want to use the latest and greatest, of course. But we know from application servers they don't always immediately support the latest versions. And the minimum version right now for Java E8 and Jakarta E8 is Java 8. So what would happen if we raise the bar for Jakarta E9 or 10 to always minimally run on Java 11? If you have only a Java E8 with Java 8 running, it could be that you are unable, or that it's very hard to migrate, of course. So will we set the bar to 11 and support Java 8 as a fallback, or will we say we want Jakarta from now on to still run on Java 8 and have 11 as supported or required? Or, yeah, like cut Java 8 and go from 11 on. So for me, it's not necessary to go directly to Java 11, because when you build enterprise applications, you're not really necessary to use every latest version feature of Java. But it would be cool, of course, and yeah, I have my own opinions on that, but I'm just one person, of course. So, anybody else wants to voice our opinion on this?
Yeah, so my take on it is that I mean, if we thinking about new adopters, or we want to have new people into the platform, and marketing it as come to this new fancy cool cloud platform, but by the way, you have to use this ancient runtime which is end of life soon. That wouldn't be good. So in my opinion, we should target the latest Java versions, but we also have this backward compatibility thingy. So I think it would make sense to, yes, it runs on 11, but maybe we don't take advantage of the 11 features yet. But the runtimes should support it, but they can be certified on 8. But
I think there's a simple answer to that. I mean, 90% of customers would just want to run on the latest long-term supported Java platform. So the easy solution is, whenever a new Jakarta EE spec comes out, just rebase on the latest long-term supported, existing platform, and that will be enough for for most people.
I think is anyway. I voiced opinion on the mailing list already. I think I want to say like in the Jakarta EE9, which is very special because we need to do a namespace change. We really want to get a baseline established straight away, and I think less changes better. So with this, I would I kind of recommend like a baseline is still Java 11. However, we request the implementation to be able to support Java 11. So baseline is 8. So you can still use Java 8. So for the people like using Java 8, their project compile with Java 8 can continue to work. They don't need to do this migration. And however, for the new like microservices and etc., you can use Java 11 because like we say, you can baseline Java 8, but runtime need to support Java 11. So this is just like the compliance. If like one runtime need to do the certify against Jakarta EE9, they need to run with Java 8 and also need to run with Java 11. But for you, I think is you can freely choose Java 8 or Java 11 based on your like requirement and etc.
Yeah. Anyone else? Who wanna run Jakarta EE9 on Java SE 8? On 11? Okay, so most. Those of you who reached your hand on 8, would 11 prevent you from going there? Yeah. So, anyone else has comment on the Java versions? Then we have a question here regarding, it kind of brings us back to MicroProfile a little bit, but the cloud orchestration tools out there, I think Kubernetes is kind of the standard thing people are using, and the question is, in MicroProfile we provide health and metric endpoints, and the question is, are there some cloud orchestration tools that make use of the output of this? And the answer to that is yes, there are. Whether that is a part of Jakarta EE or not, or it should be, I don't know if you have some comments or.
Yeah, I think is one thing I want to say about MicroProfile. MicroProfile is focused on the application programming model, the APIs. And when we design these APIs, I have a bigger picture how these APIs can work with the cloud infrastructure. However, we don't want to do something duplicate with something cloud infrastructure already providing. So for the kind of for example, health, right? We have two endpoints. We have a /health/live, which is directly plugged into Kubernetes liveness probe. And we have another one /health/ready. So that's, again, is directly correspondent to Kubernetes readiness probe. So it's a metrics. You can we can generate more metrics. If you deploy your microservice in Istio, and you can automatically use like Jaeger to directly to not Jaeger to Grafana to directly to see the metrics and etc. And the other thing, the question didn't mention about like a tracing. The Istio can will have like a Jaeger, and you can directly do a port forwarding to see all the trees and etc. MicroProfile automatically propagate the correlation ID for you if you are doing JAX-RS invocations. So this is a kind of, when we design this API, we don't just sit there and say, oh, okay, this might work. We design it based on what the cloud infrastructure needs. Like in Istio, it said, okay, application developer, you need to propagate these 7 headers. And with MicroProfile open tracing, these 7 headers automatically done by you, for you. So you don't need to add anything. So this all automatic. So this is the kind of, we are trying to make sure we stay in our zone, which is application side, and the cloud infrastructure can innovate and doing a lot of other infrastructure stuff.
We certainly need to follow all those new features, and probably the best way to put them, as we have now already with the health and metrics and open tracing, whatever, is MicroProfile. Because remember, it's not because it is in MicroProfile that you cannot use it within Jakarta EE. Most servers support both models, so you can easily combine it. We have now already a lot of those things available, so my idea is that we should follow those things up. And we are doing that because we have now, for instance, that open the tracing name change and a new specification. We are following those things up in MicroProfile, and you can, as a developer, you can just combine it with your Jakarta EE application.
Yeah. So do you want? No. Okay. So we've been talking a bit about Jakarta E9 and what we see there. It's typically deprecate some APIs, define what the Java version we're running on, do the namespace change. So if we look beyond 9, what features do you see as being the kind of key features for the next release? Anyone? Think of it. Emily, do you have anything?
I think for the next new feature, the first thing is obviously kind of we need to enhance existing feature, and some features has been kind of put on hold for so long, for a couple of years, because of this kind of is a Java EE move to Jakarta EE. The first one, like JAX-RS and also CDI, I think is need to have a kind of immediate action. And also I saw is some movement on the JSON-B, and hopefully the new feature will come into play there. So I think this is the kind of core technologies. I think with this trend and etc., gradually, I think we should keep the pruning process ongoing. With the time goes on, maybe some technology is kind of not relevant anymore. And then gradually, if not much usage, maybe we can prune them out. So stabilize them, and then we can just move really fast.
Do you have any wishes for next versions?
Yeah, so JNoSQL is one of the candidates for coming versions of Jakarta. I have no need for it yet, but if in the future I want to use a NoSQL database, I can use it via a Jakarta API, which would be cool of course. But next to the new coming specifications, there are, I feel a lot of improvements on the current ones, or maybe even transfer functionality from one to another. Like, for example, we're talking about deprecating AGPs. Cool, but what can we use from AGPs in CDI, for example, to make CDI really a replacement for the AGP? JAX-RS has improvements, all that kind of stuff that Emily already mentioned. There is so much to tune and tweak next to completely new features. So evolving it gradually is, I think, just as important as adding significant new features.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll come back to what I said before. Things that have to do with the deployment experience that are interested on the Quarkus side, like build time improvements and maybe some more flexible packaging, maybe some different profiles, just, repackaging the same stuff. That's definitely in our radar. The pruning that you said, I think those that come up now in my mind.
I think most of them are already mentioned. Maybe just to complement MVC, we didn't mention it now, but that's also a candidate for the future. Maybe include that JCache one. That's from the moment still a standalone, but it can be important to make your instances more stateless, so that you can put your data out of your service and things like that. So definitely there are a lot of things that can be added and changed in the future.
Anyone more questions from the audience? Okay. You can, Emily, please. There is a question there. Good.
So you mentioned that you decided to add Jcache to Jakarta EE. Who is going to take care of the implementation? And are you maybe taking the current implementation that exists? And how are you going to make sure that server vendors will be willing to pick it up?
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, if we move Jcache over, who's going to take care of the implementation? And that actually it is a good question, because previously in the JCP we had the notion of a reference implementation. So when you produce a specification, you need to produce the document, the API and Java docs, as well as a test suite called the TCK, and an implementation that passes that TCK. And that's in order to produce that spec, and that is the reference implementation. And traditionally, the reference implementation of Java EE has been Glassfish. In Jakarta, we don't have the notion of reference implementation. We have compatible implementations. So it doesn't have to be Glassfish. It can be anything. The only criteria is that it has to be open source. So some open source implementation must be available that passes the test suite. So to answer that question, whoever implements Jcache today, I guess Hazelcast and yeah, I can't remember, but there would typically be an implementation of Infinispan, yeah. So there are implementations out there that could be a compatible implementation of the Jakarta Jcache, and the vendors would, yeah. Anything else? I think we have 3 minutes left, so do anyone have any closing remarks?
Actually, I want to ask, I want to do a survey here. Ask you a question. So why the change in the Jakarta is is more flexible? So in the individual specs, we could introduce backward incompatible changes. So in this case, the version does make sense now. Who want to see the semantic versioning policy being adopted by Jakarta EE? Who knows the semantic versioning? Okay, so basically for the ones who don't know semantic versioning, so major version change means you have backward incompatible change. Minor version means this backward compatible, you have minor change. And the the micro change is more like a bug fix and etc. For example, if CDI adopt semantic versioning in CDI 3, so that means you have backward incompatible change. You have a clear migration plan, etc. At the moment, it's more like a marketing version. It doesn't mean much, right? It's like okay, major version means a lot of changes. You haven't got any clue whether it's backward incompatible change or not. So with this explanation, who want to see Jakarta EE adopt semantic versioning? Okay, cool. Thank you.
I'll follow up on that. With each of the specifications, they already have the notion of semantic versioning today. Is it needed on platform level as well, or is it okay if the individual component specifications are using semantic versioning? Yeah.
I think it is important also for the platform, because what will it happen if we have that faster release cadence every 9 months? Then we go quickly from 9, 10 to 11 to 15. So what is then the actual change in that EE13? If we have more the semantic versioning, we have at least the notions that the specifications which are included in that, if they are backwards compatible, fully yes or no. That's my opinion.
Let's fight in the mailing list.
Yeah. So please join the mailing lists and join us in defining the future of Jakarta EE. Thank you for coming, and thank you for the panelists to doing this. Thank you.